Hey guys, I'm here underneath the LTD yet again. This time what started out as replacing or fixing leaking transmission coolant lines has devolved, let's say, to replacing the rear main seal. Well, I noticed after I've been driving it a little bit, I've been fighting with transmission cooler line leaking, and I noticed I was getting a little leak out of the rear main seal, even though I had that super duper highly recommended Teflon rear main, which I thought would be a good idea to run on a new crank. Well, that didn't work out so well, and it's proven itself to not work so well on the red car either, so I'm not gonna mess with those things ever again. I put the seal saver on there, and there's the, what is it, the 40620 standard rear Velcro rear main seal on here. What's, like I said, it started out, I was replacing the transmission cooler lines. I thought I'd be clever when I put the transmission in this time, instead of running the lines up the way they traditionally go, out of the transmission forward, then alongside the engine here. They're always a pain in the butt because that's where the starter is, and with the long tubes it was always a hassle. So this time I run them out of the transmission rearward alongside the transmission. And I know you ain't gonna be able to see this, but use your imagination. So it went behind the front subframe here, and then it followed along here where the fuel lines go up to the front. That was probably good in idea, but not so well in execution, because kept on getting leaks out of it, and so I just abandoned it. And then while I had it apart, you know, I had the one header off. The passenger side header is not too terrible to take off, but if you got to take this side off to get the transmission out, you got to take the power brake or power steering pump off, the air conditioner pump off, disconnect the steering shaft, and pull the master cylinder out to get the header out of the way. So what I did was I just loosened up enough so I could get it over, and kind of swung it out of the way to get the transmission out, which was a huge time saver. So I got the new seal installed. I put a little mark on the back of the crank here and onto the flex plate, so when it goes back together I don't have to turn it around 18 times to see where the bolt line up. And I don't have any leaks out of the galley plugs, and there was no leak up here. Sometimes you get a leak out of one of the plugs, or you get a leak out of the back of your intake manifold, and it goes down the back of the engine, and you think you got a rear main leak, and you get the transmission off and find out that's where the oil's been coming from, the back of your intake manifold, which is pretty cool. So anyway, all that's done, and now it's just got to go back together. But there's one more thing I'm going to show you as soon as I get off from underneath here. Alright, so this is what I had. I had these into the transmission, and then I had the stock fittings there, and then these two lines went alongside the transmission to the back, and then I had these coming off of that. I had rubber going up over the exhaust with a heat sleeve so they wouldn't be bothered by the exhaust, and then the really long lines went up along the outside of the front subframe. And then I had it going, I had this mounted to the front subframe, and that's my transmission temperature sensor, sending unit for, I have a transmission temperature gauge in the LTD below the radio where the ashtray and cigarette lighter, all that garbage used to be. So I've got a transmission temperature, oil pressure, and coolant temperature gauge there. So that's what happened with that. Like I said, it was leaking. Kept trying to tighten it, and mostly it was leaking at these kind of fittings. It even leaked here. I took it off. You can see I took it off and just layered the black RTV on there. That one sealed up, but this one didn't. And I think what happened when I put the wrench on here to tighten it up, I didn't have a fitting on the inside, and it kind of made the fitting a little bit oblong because I had to get it tight to line up. And I think that's what caused it to leak. So, excuse me, a little word to the wise, maybe put a fitting in there and snug it up before you turn this so it doesn't collapse the fitting. And then when I replace the rear main seal, I use a small drill, like a 1/16 inch drill, then a little screw like that guy, and my super duper Harbor Freight dent puller. Looks like it was cast by some old Chinaman in his backyard, but it works. So, and what I usually do is drill in that little divot there. I'll drill in there, run a screw in, and then use the dent puller to pull it out. And you can see I had to drill 3 holes in there to get it out because I put black RTV around the outside so it'd seal good. Of course, it didn't do anything to the seal on the inside. So anyway, what I did with that is it ended up, you can see coming through the side right there on that one, and that made a little bit of a nick on the back of the crankshaft. So I just smoothed it out with a little bitty file like this, you know, a little file like that guy, little jeweler's file from Harbor Freight, and then I put the seal over the top of it, the seal saver, and the new seal, and it should be fine. That shouldn't be any issues. So that's all that is. So now I got to get back to putting that thing back together. Later. Appreciate y'all.